Love and mercy is what the world needs now, but more importantly, we need to give it to ourselves so that we embody it and become that, and then it rolls out of us naturally, and it's not something we do, it's who we are. Which goes to the talk title today, The Proof is You. Oh, let me move that away. First, collectively, I still get nervous when I do this job, and I'm not quite sure what spirit's going on and doing through me. So collectively, I've learned that I can be vulnerable enough to acknowledge that to you. So we'll just take a collective breath, just knowing that everything is perfect, that spirit is always and ever present because it is who you are, and who we think we are is never the truth. So the proof is you. What the heck does that mean anyway? Well, the way spirit gave it to me is, do you know what it took for you to get here? I mean, we all know how we got here, but do you know what it took to actually become this fertilized egg, this embryo, this baby against all odds, health issues, lots of competition before we even begin to be the one. And through that competition, the hardest thing before our recognition is that you were chosen to be you, and that you were birthed into this world, and it is a purposeful birth. Therefore, the proof is you, always. That is our first burden of proof, is that you're here. That anybody can say, I'm not here, or I'm not conscious, or I'm not aware of who I am, we would have to have a different talk. But the traversing of even being born is the burden of proof that you deserve to be here. When we look at the world, we often wonder, why would I even choose to come to a place like this? Because there is an essence about us that wants to know ourselves greater and expand in consciousness and awareness, and the world is waking up. And in that waking up, we become aware of our true and highest nature, and we become aware of the illusion that our body works in specific ways, the senses. So we and the world becomes real to us through our senses. We cannot perceive anything without our five senses: taste, touch, smell, sight, hearing. And this is how the reality of the world becomes who we are. That's what the world becomes to us. And that is the second burden of proof, that the world is to you who you are. The world isn't to me who you are, because I am a different embodiment. So I use this analogy. I heard this analogy recently from somebody that I was following and doing this meditation called I Am I. And she uses this analogy about the ocean, and we hear it a lot, but she added a particular thing to it, that if you really picture the ocean as the whole, and the ocean pulls up these waves, and each wave is different in its own uniqueness. This wave is small, and this wave has more foam, and this wave is really high, and depending on the churning of the ocean, but they are all the ocean. There is no wave as it rises and falls, as we do. We birth and we die, but we are that. We are never separate from that. We are the wave that is never separate from the ocean. It is the ocean individualized in its own unique nature, but it is not separate from it. It never loses the essence of it. It is never not it. And in the ocean, it gives birth to so many things. As we look at our seas, we have different aquatic animals and coral in different parts of the world, and it too is all the ocean. And I don't know if you remember the movie Dory, where she's swimming and the fish is like, she's like, I'm looking for my parents, and I think that this fish says, he was kind of like a hippie surfer fish, and he identifies that, we're all the ocean, and you think about a fish looking for the ocean because it's in the ocean. So it wants to know where this thing, the ocean, is called, where the big surf is, where is he going to? And he's forgotten that he is in the thing that birthed him and that he is a part of that thing and that he can never be separate of it. This is the burden of proof. So there's a quiet assumption that many of us carry, often without realizing it, that what we are seeking is somewhere else. Well, if we are in the fishbowl of consciousness, if we are the ocean and we are waves that have risen but never been separate from and still have the essence of it, then how could we, or why would we be looking out into the world of impermanence for who we truly are? This, by nature, if we investigate it, we would want to come back to ourselves. And in order to come back to ourselves, we have to leave the five senses. We have to find a way in the stillness, like Aaron talked about, to find the joy that we seek, to discover that we are the joy that we seek, that our true nature is happiness, and that we, by orientation, have been taught to seek happiness outside of us, like it is going to be fulfilling us. How can anything temporary fulfill us when we are already the complete package and fulfilled? How do you look for happiness outside of yourself? Most often we identify this by vices, and I have found even people without the vices of addiction or whatever it may be, sometimes it's relationships. There are various ways that we look for fulfillment and hold other people accountable to that fulfillment, and we lack our self-responsibility to seek the burden of proof for ourselves. That if I'm the ocean, and that ocean gave birth to me through procreation, then what am I seeking and searching for? How can I ever find fulfillment outside of who I am? Then who I am must not be the truth. And how then do I begin to lay down of years and lives birthed, looking outside of myself, much like the prodigal son, going out into the world and seeking that which he already is, and he is welcomed back home. He begins to lay down the senses. And how do we do that? How do we become earnest seekers for that which we so desperately want? I don't know about you, but in the quietude of my meditation, it brings me to tears. I sometimes beg God to show me the beauty of what I would call its face so that I can know that nature and live from that place. And I began to realize that I require of something of God before I give myself to God, which is giving myself to myself. And how do I know that? Because I do it in my relationships. I want to trust you, but I require trust from you first. So if I'm doing that outside in my sense-seeking world, then how am I doing it in my innermost world? What am I requiring of this thing we call God, which is often a trigger for people? So please know that it can be whatever you want. I think God is a small word that has so many concepts attached to it that I just like to call it beauty now. How does the beauty of reality actually be expressed as my true nature if I am busy walking around the world looking for things to fulfill me instead of realizing my own fulfillment? And this is what Ernest Holmes was pointing to. This is what all the great teachers are pointing to. Even in spiritual communities, we can subtly believe that prosperity, happiness, or fulfillment are rewards that arrive after we align correctly, think correctly, that we finally get it. But when we step back and look honestly at the great spiritual teachings of the world, something startling becomes clear. They're not pointing us outward. All the teachers, all the great teachings, they're all saying the same thing. They're inviting us inward. Ernest Holmes knew this, and he did us a favor by going out and collecting those teachings and bringing us, and his deepest desire was to free man from himself. And the himself that he's talking about is the personality, is the way we move and the protection mechanisms of the parasympathetic nervous system and the activated reticulating system, and how we meet adversity is usually how we would meet the beauty. What we require of you is probably what we're requiring of the beloved, but we don't even know it. And so we continue seeking like there's something we're missing, like the fish in the ocean looking for that which it is, and it's swimming in it. But we can't realize it just as an idea or another concept or an embodiment of knowledge. We have to have the direct experience of it. And in order to have that direct experience of it, we have to lay something down. In the essence of surrender, what we have to lay down is we have to find a way to get out of our senses by acknowledging I am the body. I am not the body. I'm aware of the body. I am I. And we go into this quietude, and it takes us into this place. And when we sit in the stillness, it's good for the body to have quiet, go into rest. The mind rests. And when we have a mantra, it gives our waking mind this ability to become focused. In the teachings of Ramana Maharshi, there are of a student seeking liberation, there are things that he says that a good aspirant or a student should embody. And I believe our teaching in Ernest Holmes really wanted to embody this, and our classes have been built around it. He says tranquility implies fixing the mind upon its target by meditating frequently on the imperfections of things and becoming dissatisfied with them. Self-control means controlling the outer and the inner sense organs and fixing them in their respective centers and allowing them to rest. Withdrawal means giving up all outer activity by fixing the mind on its target so firmly that it is not led by its previous tendencies to dwell on objects. Forbearance means the endurance of any sorrows that may befall without trying to avoid them. I don't know about you, but I spent most of my life avoiding my sorrows, which became my tendencies, which became my preservation strategies, which became how I was closed off, which became how I became closed off to the beauty and the natural essence. And I don't know about you, but even when I think about being liberated, it scares the crap out of me because Tracey always wants to be in control. And if I'm not in control, then who's going to take care of me? A requirement of God. Prove to me that you can take care of me so that I can give myself to you. No, it does not work that way. Faith, which is the cause of self-realization, is the outcome of firm conviction of the truth of the Vedantic scriptures and of the words of the Guru. The Guru meaning your higher self, your utmost high, that intelligence and awareness that we all are. And finally, concentration is making every effort to affix the mind on the pure essence, despite its wandering nature. A mantra that we could repeat to ourselves is, I am I. These are said to be the 6 qualifications needed to practice. Intense learning for liberation arises from the desire to free oneself by realizing one's true nature, attaining freedom from the bondage of the body and the ego, which is caused by ignorance. This yearning may be different in different grades. It may be only dull or medium. It may be highly developed by means of the 6 qualifications mentioned above. And in this case, it can bear fruit. If the yearning is intense, these qualifications speedily bear fruit. So as we look at our lives and we ask ourselves, I don't know, when I read that, I felt a little like I fell short. I'm like, ooh, I don't know that I want that list. I'm not very focused. I lack faith most of the time. I'm getting better at it. I have impediments to everything on that list. But as I sat in meditation yesterday, this essence of this beauty came over me, and it told me it didn't matter. You know what matters is the earnest desire to know the truth and to understand why you're looking. I said to my daughter this morning that's going through a breakup, and she has her own preservation strategies, and I could see so clearly how they're deployed and how I taught them to her to be deployed through lack of connection, and I had to take responsibility as a mom. And as I heal, she heals, because then I can see her pain clearly, and I don't have to try to fix her or relieve her of the pain. That she can have the sorrow and sit with it and know that there's a higher essence that's always who she is and who you are, no matter what you're going through. And the things of the world are beautiful. The cars, the houses, the jobs, we need them in our humanness. We use our ego. It's not evil. It's not bad. It's just taken over. And we see in our world today the ramifications of a heightened ego and what happens and how easily it can get away from us, and that we must be studious in improving, not changing. I have recently heard change is such an ugly word because it implies there's something wrong with you or that you're broken. Change isn't always what's necessary. Improvement is. It's so much kinder to us to say, I'm sorry, I will improve upon that. It allows for grace. That this beloved beauty doesn't expect perfection from the thing that it created. It knows your imperfection. It created you. It knows the senses. It created them. What it's asking of you is to lay them down so that you can bask in the essence of your own beauty, to meet those adversities, to have the tools to go within, to face the things. It doesn't mean that we can avoid the difficulties of life. This is planet Earth. We have asteroids hurling around us and towards us. We have oceans, and we have things that we can't control. We have people that we can't control no matter how we try. We have politicians that we'd like to say we can control that we can't. But what we can do is what Ernest Holmes said, free yourself. And when you become free, there's only one. We all become free, because when you awaken to that essence, you are now liberated from the ignorance and the lie and the objects, and we sit in the beauty of that. And then all you meet, you become a mirror of pure reflection, and we purify the mind so that we can heal the essence. The planet will be here. We have a self-destructive tendency in nature when we become out of balance. And what this beauty is calling us back to is to ourselves, to bring balance back. When we have balanced lives, we have equanimity. And when we have equanimity, we have peace. And we have peace, there is beauty. And when there is beauty, we are home. And we are home, we are all of these things. They aren't something there we speak. They are who we be. And we ditch the I'm, should've, could've, would've, needs to, wants to's, and we just give ourselves a break, and we say, man, I must have learned that. We become investigative detectives like Columbo, and we start to look, why do I behave that way instead of I shouldn't have behaved that way? Why am I responded that way instead of, oh my God, I want to hide? And the thing that we use, there's always a payoff. And the thing that we're seeking, we use to get it. But the problem is that we, I thought it was funny when I saw this in one of my friends, is there's this tendency to be closed off and standoffish because she's afraid of loss, but the closed offish is creating the loss. So it becomes paradoxical that what you push away, you get more of. And to stand in your full vulnerability and your openness will yield the results that you're looking for. But if you were raised in a home, or you went to school, or you had relationships that didn't connect, then connection becomes key. So I follow this guy to help me be a better parent, improved parent, for these little people that I have become responsible for, because I like to collect things, including children, to prove that I'm a good person. It's so funny when you realize why you got what you got. Oh, you can't really blame anyone else, not even the mom that left them. Or did what she needed to do because that's what she thought she needed to do. And I love her too. And I forgive her and myself. That's the beauty of it, is you get to forgive. You get to move freely in your own essence. And so what becomes so beautiful about it is that this fear that you so hold tightly to and you let go of then draws you closer to that beauty and that essence that you are. And what I could see so clearly was every obstacle is met, like I didn't get the job. And so Mr. Chaz, I deviated, says the 4 connections to stop biting. Well, biting is everything. It could be biting, hitting, yelling, squabbling, taking responsibility, lack of responsibility. And he says, first, acknowledge the feelings. They're real. Your body has a nervous system. It is a response. Children don't have words. Most adults don't even have words, but we should. And then you acknowledge big feelings. Second is connection, and the 3 steps to connection, right, is acknowledge big feelings. Let's try to see if we can figure out what you want. Make a funny. Funny breaks up everything. And then ask, what do you need? Hug? Do you need mommy to hug you? And then the 4th and final step is taking a breath. And when connection happens before direction, something heals within us. The 4th step of what needs to happen is saying what you want. So instead of no biting, no hitting, I want you to touch me gently. So we acknowledge the feelings, we connect, and then we say what we want. And if we as adults could imply this, if we take our time with children, why don't we take our times with one another and own our own responsibility and say, I got big feelings about what you did, Reverend Tracey. And give opportunity for connection. And then through connection, we can see and come to a decision. And maybe what you want can't be, or maybe it doesn't work out. But the truth is, through connection, I can then ask you what you want, and you could tell me what you want, and I could say what I want, and then we can see if we can do it. And if we can't, then we have to put our big girls of pants on, just like the kids do, and we go, okay. And you feel heard. And you connect to that higher self. And in our humanness, we give each other a break. That's, in retrospect and in ending, the core idea is you. The core idea is self-responsibility. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you, not arriving later, not after approval. And science of mind teaches this. The universe is intelligent, responsive, and creative, and that we are individualized expressions of that intelligence, not outsiders trying to get life's attention. Different languages, different metaphors, same direction. Every authentic teaching eventually collapses the distance between the seeker and the source until they become, or realize, not become, because you already are, and the realization of the one is seen through direct experience to meet and use the senses instead of the mind and the senses using it. Take into your week the mantra, I am I. In your stillness, become the student and the avid seeker. Work on improving and being gentle and kind to yourself. See how you meet adversity and be the detective as to why and how that developed. And ask, is there a better or different way that would set me on the path to know myself? Namaskaram.